Calling this meeting to order, Monday, February 26th at 6 p.m. Cherry, would you do roll call, please? And just so you know, Erica is going to be here. She's going to be a little late.
Thank you. Crosby Buchanhan.
Here.
Erica Connor excused. Jake Higginthal.
Here.
Gail
Cherry, can you
Sage.
speak in the mic, please?
Here. Gail Sage. Here. Dale Porter.
Here.
Vito Schwartz.
Here.
Carolyn Simon.
Here.
Greg Burtz.
Here.
Sherry Winchowski here.
All right, this is an open meeting and has been noticed. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We're going to move on. We don't have any recognitions today. Citizens' comments.
Mr. Rich Hacker. Mr. Hacker, you'll have 3 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning if that's okay.
Fine. Do I need the microphone? Or?
Yes, please. Please speak into it.
And it's on? It's on. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
My name is Rich Hacker. I live on the far north end of the town of Mukwonago, and I am part owner of a business in the industrial park. And I don't work there anymore. I like to call myself a busy guy with a flexible schedule. In other words, I'm retired. But I'm still part owner, so I have a vested interest. And I also was a past president of the Mukwonago Chamber of Commerce. 2 weeks ago, I got the report card in the mail, which had the numbers, the performance numbers of Mukwonago High School. And I really didn't have anything to compare that to, so I went back to the 2021 school year Wisconsin report cards. Used that as my basis. Got the next year and then this last year, so 3 years running. And I looked at Parkview Middle School and I looked at the high school. And Parkview started out at overall of 70.4, and now they're up to 80.9. The high school, on the other hand, started out in 2021 at 71.3, and it's gone the other way. They're down to 63.1. And the other criteria, English and math, which I'm interested in, they show the same trends. So when I was in school, anything under a 65 was an F. And even a high mark of 80, you're lucky to get a C. So not good enough. Years ago when my kids were in high school here, 3 of my children went through the Mukwonago School District, and they're all doing quite well. Behind the glass at Parkview Middle School, it said a 95% success rate here in school gets you an A. In the business world, 95% gets you fired. And in the business that I was in, 95% might get you hurt or killed. So 100% was really the criteria that we work with. I reviewed the mission statements, really because it all comes down to attitude. And I do not see the word excellence in Parkview's mission statement until the very last word.
30 seconds, Mr. Hacker.
Okay. And Mukwonago, it's in the middle. So I freely admit I'm a little selfish. I pay taxes as a resident. I pay taxes as a business owner. And I have 3 grandchildren that are going through the system. And I think that you as a board and the schools really need to rearrange priorities and put quality and excellence of education at the top, because everything comes off of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have any presentations, so we're going to move on to student rep report.
And tonight we welcome Kyle Lawrenson. Kylie is out this evening, but Kyle will give our report.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right, starting with Mukwonago High School, Samantha Chase, a senior art student at the high school, received a Silver Key Award. MHS also held its annual Healthcare Research Symposium, which was a great success, where students researched to find a solution to a public health problem. Mukwonago won the Classic 8 wrestling tournament with both their boys and girls team, and the Global Scholars Program hosted 9 students and 1 teacher from Costa Rica, where they visited local sites, elementary schools, and high school classes. Moving on to Big Bend Elementary, Celine Robertson helped host a Chinese New Year event to educate Big Bend students on Chinese culture, games, and tradition, as well as organize a dragon dance, which is pictured on the screen. Moving on to Clarendon, for Valentine's Day, students participated in a heart obstacle course, which is a fun fitness and health lesson for students. Clarendon students celebrated the 100th day of school. Coins for College Week at Clarendon was a huge success, where they raised a new best of $2,296.62 to award to Clarendon alumni who are headed to college this year. Charity the Comfort Dog visited Clarendon to spread kindness and cheer to the students. Moving on to Parkview Middle School, the Four Leaf Clovers were the Parkview's top Battle of the Books team, and they competed in the state competition recently. Parkview had a successful winter sports season filled with basketball and wrestling. Students taking the green architecture class at Parkview visited Eagleville to learn about the process they went through to become a green ribbon school. Parkview can't wait to see families at conferences, and Parkview would also like to celebrate its school resource officer, Officer Pettit, and its bus drivers. Moving on to Rolling Hills Elementary, they would like to celebrate Mrs. Edwards for being the Rotary Club's February Teacher of the Month. She oversees the after-school study program and helps to implement professional learning teams for the staff. The Rolling Hills Student Council organized a Kindness Week, where students were asked to spread positivity in their homes, school, or community. Moving on to Section, they would like to celebrate their elementary choir for singing the national anthem at the Milwaukee Admirals game. The annual Section Elementary Project Fair allows students to share their interests in all sorts of subjects. The Section PTG hosted a candy bar bingo with dinner, a bake sale, a silent auction, and a raffle, and of course bingo, where the winner would receive a candy bar of their choice. This event helped them raise over $5,500. As pictured, you can see the projects that some of the students made. Prairie View students went out of their way to perform random acts of kindness this month to spread joy through their school. Prairie View hosted an Ivy and Bean night, where students talked about the Ivy and Bean books, watched the movie, and enjoyed some popcorn. Prairie View would also like to thank their bus drivers for everything that they do for them. Eagleville participated in One Book, One School, where the entire school read the book Be a Tree. The Eagleville Student Council hosted a peanut butter and jelly drive to support the local food pantry. Costa Rican exchange students visited Eagleville to teach about the Spanish language and their daily lives in Costa Rica. Students learned how to tap maple trees for sap that can be turned into syrup that will be sold at their Maker Fair in March. And student concerns, students are very excited to hear about the possibility of weighted grades in the future. Thank you. Any questions?
Nope, thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
I like that that's up there for everybody to see.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was a great idea. Moving on to consent agenda, looking for approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of February 12th, 2024, and approval of vouchers and receipts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, consent agenda is approved. We don't have any policies tonight. Moving on to personnel topics.
Vouchers and receipts.
What?
Oh, never mind. We did that. Never mind. Sorry.
All right. So for my director's report, last month I presented on student wages and the proposal to increase the student employee group hourly compensation from $7.50 to $13.50 per hour. And then additionally, I presented on the hiring process that we'll be putting into play for the hiring of the Mukwonago High School principal. All right, second thing I have is an information item on the co-curricular handbook. So Andy Trudell and I met. We review this annually, and we look at all of the different clubs, activities that we offer within the district. We have incredibly robust offerings for our students, and look to just update that to make sure that it's in line with what it is that we offer our students, make sure that compensation is in line with what our advisors are doing. And so we have just a few number of changes. We are looking at eliminating powerlifting, the life of an athlete, and the 3v3 clubs due to decreasing or very, very low enrollment. We're looking at adding a stipend for lacrosse and adding an additional stipend for, adding an additional assistant for that based on the increasing number of students enrolled in that. And then we're also looking to add an addition of an assistant position to our HOSA program that has grown from over 40 to over 140 students since this club began. And so you can see the whole handbook that's attached. And again, I'll come back then next month for action on that.
Any questions? I have a question. How often do volunteer coaches get background checks? If they are here year after year, are they checked every year?
So volunteers are checked on an annual basis, or no, every 3 years for volunteers. And all of our employees are given a background check once they're on staff upon hire.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We're on to student learning topics.
Okay, so we're going to have 2 items come up in action items tonight. We went over the proposal for an extended field trip for SAVE to go to Charlotte, North Carolina in April, and also an extended trip to Europe for the summer of 2025. When we get to that action item, I do have some answers to questions that you guys asked, and I'll do it at that time. And then the academic and technical excellence scholars were presented to the board for the graduating class of 2023-24. I also wanted to give an update into the work that I've been doing since the board approved bringing in weighted grades and the communication then that we would like to send out tomorrow to parents and students regarding both the change in schedules and the bringing in of weighted grades. So after looking into the weighted grades, I think it is best that we bring this in 2 layers. I hesitate strongly after talking to counselors and some staff. I hesitate strongly having this in play for our current sophomores and juniors who have made decisions on what they take or don't take for weighted grades. To this point, we currently have in the sophomore class, I believe 24 students still with a 4.0 who have made decisions based on that. To change that valedictorian game in them at this process, I don't think is the best decision for kids. We will continue to talk to kids about taking AP classes and the importance of doing that if they are 4-year college bound, but that we would actually start this for next year's freshmen and next year's sophomores. The sophomore class currently has 8 students who have taken an AP class in it already. We would not go back and retroactively award weighted grades for those students, as that was not in play at the time that they chose that. Only 4 of those 8 students currently still have a 4.0 that have taken the AP classes. So I do not feel that it would be with proper communication and discussion with families, a big change for them, so we could split that, and our next year's freshmen and sophomores would be under the new weighted grades, and then next year's juniors and seniors we would grandfather out. Questions on that?
How does that work in class? I'm sorry, I should wait to be called on. I saw Craig and started talking.
Carolyn, go ahead.
Thanks. How does that work in classes where there's sophomores and juniors, let's say, in the same class?
So we'll just, I talked to Sue Brezovar, who is our IC guru in the district, and she said it will not be an issue to set up 2 classes operating under one system for a couple years, and the rest, it's just on how we code the classes, and we have a way to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Bert?
Yeah.
So Stephanie, what are the negatives of starting this sooner than later? I understand, but if we're all in this, there's a guy speaking here tonight for the same reason, I think.
Yep.
You know?
So the negatives to me are, it honestly boils down to changing the game on students midway through their time after they've made those decisions, and they, you know, we're gonna have students that say, oh, I would have taken this instead. It becomes definitely a strategic plan of families as they're choosing classes, and we'll have students that have chosen to take AP Psych, let's say, and at certain classes, other students not, and now we have some students in our junior and senior class that can take more AP classes, therefore maybe get to that valedictorian in a way that, had they known from the get-go, they would have potentially chosen different. So to me, it is really, and to our counselors that I spoke to, it's really about changing the game on them. Again, it is not that we are not going to send a loud and clear message about the fact that we do believe that students should take AP classes who are choosing to attend a four-year college. But there's something that feels ultra wrong to me about changing the game plan for students in the middle.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Moving on to student service topics.
Okay, I just have my director's report from 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, I presented on the Rural Behavioral Health Institute. That was the Montana Behavioral Health Institute. We talked about was a partnership with Merit Solutions that works to reduce suicide among young people by building that preventative network of solutions. So it was a topic that Dr. Cook had explored in his prior role in Waukesha School District, and so had an opportunity to discuss that as a committee of the whole. And then we also talked about, did a presentation on the school-based threat assessment and management, and was able to give the board an update on our Care Solace usage and our Speak Up, Speak Out tip line at that time.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Finance and facilities topics.
All right, so I wasn't with you 2 weeks ago on Monday. I was at the town of Ottawa. But the items that were discussed, we did another budget update for the 23-24 year. No concerns regarding the tracking of our expenditures, and we anticipate that our budgeted revenues can be between 0.6 and 1.2% higher, which is positive news than what we budgeted. So we're in a great spot, no concerns. We shared the results of our actuarial evaluation, which measures our post-employment benefit liability. We are 99.5% funded in our liability. So again, we're in great spots there. We're not deferring our liabilities to future school boards. We're taking care of our debts now. We had Amber Ebert, who joined us virtually to share the results of the 23-24 audit. So you all heard from her and asked questions. So the audit report itself was very favorable, and Amber's comments were, you heard those. Dr. Cook shared just a referendum update in regards to our presentations around the town. So you know where we're at with that. Those will continue as we move forward. And then we finally gave an update on the roof replacement projects at Mukwonago High School in Clarendon.
Any questions for Tom? All right, thank you. Moving on to action items, hires, retirements, and resignations.
So we have 2 resignations. Teresa Jones, which this is one of our ESSER positions. She has submitted a resignation notice effective May 10th. And then Jennifer Pike, she is a teacher in our alternative education program at SOAR, effective at the end of the year.
I'd like to make a motion we accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Moving on to the territory detachment, I'd like to call up Jake and Caitlin Vosberg, please.
Hello?
Hello. Good evening.
Said good morning. Thanks for taking time to hear us.
If you could speak in the mic, that'd be great. Thank you.
A little closer. There we go. So, just prepared something. My name is Jake Vosberg. My wife Caitlin and I are parents of Wyatt and Oliver Vosberg. Our home is at W351-6665 Ulrichson Road, and that's just for the record. We've lived there for over 8 years. Our property lies directly on the boundary of Mukwonago and Palmyra Eagle school districts. Prairie View Elementary and all schools our children would attend in the Mukwonago school district are closer in proximity to our home than Eagle Elementary and Palmyra Eagle High School / middle school. Due to this fact, this geographical fact, and as well as the academic performance that we have seen with Mukwonago, while we were moving and expecting our first, we had planned on attending Mukwonago School District via open enrollment. We did so with our first son, Wyatt, and we have grown into this community. However, life throws curveballs, challenges, and blessings your way. Our second son, Oliver, was born with Down syndrome and does not qualify for open enrollment due to his IEP. We have requested to detach from the Palmyra Eagle School District and attach to Mukwonago, so both our children are in the same district, have the same school schedules, and are both with children within their community. Though we were initially declined by the Palmyra Eagle School District to detach our property from their district, we are looking for your approval to attach to Mukwonago Area School District in order to allow us to start the appeal process through DPI. So I guess some of the bullet points, we're closer geographically to this school district than we are Eagle. Wyatt has attended Prairie View since 2021. We've been applying for open enrollment for our youngest son, Oliver, each year, and that's been declined due to his IEP. Both Wyatt and Oliver are both involved in the community. They're both very involved with Cub Scouts Pack 152, which is comprised of all families from Mukwonago. We've been very active with Prairie View Elementary School, volunteering, attending school-sponsored events, fundraisers. I feel like we've really established our roots in Mukwonago versus Eagle. So bottom line, we are requesting that you approve the attachment of our property to the Mukwonago School District so we can begin the appeal process to go in front of the DPI to detach from Palmyra Eagle. So that's what we're asking.
Would you mind if the board has any questions, answering anything? Does anybody have any questions for them?
Could you tell me what the vote was like? Was it unanimous? Unanimous, not anonymous. Unanimous?
Yeah, their second count was unanimous, and so was their first, but they had to do a recount. Just FYI. It was a decision due to monetary reasons. It wasn't anything to do with the child's benefit or support, that they could give our son. I guess one of the biggest disappointments we have with that school district is they have a vacancy in Eagle Elementary for the principal, his initial special ed teacher, as well as speech therapy, all of which revolve around Oliver, and they are struggling to fill that void right now for him. And we have been struggling with a few people that will work with us well, but there's more questions than answers more times than not. Does that answer your question, kind of, sort of?
Yeah, no, it does.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Joe. For a property to detach, and maybe Tommy know this as well, does it have to go through school districts, or is there also not an opportunity to go through both town and village to detach?
I'm not familiar with the municipal process. I'm only familiar with the school district process, where the boundary would shift. So I can't necessarily say if it would or not. Tom, do you?
I don't believe that there's a different way to do this other than the way that they're doing this right now. You couldn't skip the school boards, is my understanding.
Have you guys looked into that? Do you know if there's a secondary option, or this is all you've come across? And
This is the only option that we've come across, yeah.
so I ask because I've been on the board 9 years and I haven't seen a Palmyra Eagle Mukwonago detachment yet work. Even, I mean, we have said yes on, I think, 2 occasions when they have said no, and no appeal has ever gone through. And I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to just make sure that everyone in the room knows that this is just the process. The president, I am torn. I'm not entirely opposed. I actually would like to hear what you all think before we vote. I think everyone deserves to hear what you guys think before we vote. But just note, the state, I mean, if we were to say yes, it's still in the state's hands, and I wouldn't mind giving you the opportunity to talk to the state. I think it's a big long shot, which is why I asked, are we sure there's not another way? I'm in Vernon, and we had a period of time where many properties were leaving Vernon and becoming Big Bend, and I didn't think they came to this table when it was happening. So that's why I asked if within municipalities, if there's an additional process potentially, I don't know.
So, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Craig.
We love the fact that you love Mukwonago, because we all love Mukwonago as well. I raised my kids here, and blah, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that if anybody lets this start to happen regularly, then we have maybe the copycat, and we have 10, 12, 14, 16 families that want to move in every year, which is it's a great thing. We think we're a destination district. But then I think maybe you guys want to buy a house in the district. Just thinking out loud. I understand there's financial concerns, everything else. I'm just thinking out loud. That's all.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do is move our property from one school district to another, so you'd get the benefit of our tax dollars from school boundary change. So, along with, you know, anything that would come through with Oliver with his IEP and stuff like that. So we would be, I guess, paying municipal taxes to Eagle, but our school taxes would all go to us here. I say us, right? Yay.
Eagle.
I'd be interested to hear why anybody would be opposed to it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have a bunch of people in a Cool Kids Club over with us. So if anybody's got any reason they wouldn't, I don't understand why we wouldn't. So
I do have a concern about, and I feel for you, and I really do want to say yes. However, this detachment and attachment to Mukwonago follows that property. So if you were to ever move and sell that house, that family would also be in our school district forever unless they go through this process again. So I don't know if that positively or negatively impacts resale value, if it would positively or negatively impact whoever moves in the future. But I do think that's something that we have to consider, is that that's going to affect anybody who owns that property going forward.
Yeah, and when we went through our hearing at the board at Palmyra, they brought the same concern. However, I don't feel like it would negatively impact anybody moving into that property because they'd be moving into this school district. Now, bear in mind, too, back in 2016, something like that, Eagle Palmyra had a referendum to vote to actually split Eagle and Palmyra, and Eagle was on the docket to join this school district due to the fact that they were basically bankrupt. You know, the school district has been suffering for some time, and you know, given all the stats and, you know, accolades of this school district compared to theirs, I think any expecting parent would be a fool to look at that as a negative. You know, this school district is definitely where it's at.
Jerry? Tom, could you pull up the map where all the other properties are, please?
Sure. So this is one view of the map here. So you're just kind of seeing we are this district here, off to the right here. Palmyra is here to the left. You have Kettle Moraine to the north. So you can see it's right on the boundary there. And then here's a little bit closer look at the map there.
Okay, so, yeah, so this is my question. In all those other properties that are right along there, like there's that really big one, and then another medium-sized one, and then there's, okay, so are there students in there that this house would be going to one school, and then how does the busing work
Well,
with something like that?
We have been providing our own transportation and would continue to plan to do so. However, both buses do pass our road. We've seen them crisscross right in front of our picture window of our house. We'll see one school district going one way and another one going the other way. As far as the houses, the one next door to us, I think their kids might be out now, out of school. If not, they're at the tail end of high school. And across the street from our house, there's the main property, but if you squint your eyes, there's a driveway, and then the big property behind that is still Permanent Eagle. They have a couple of kids. Other than that, nobody on the rest of the road. They're all people in their golden years.
I'm just saying the houses themselves, not because, like you said, when they sell the house, they aren't necessarily going to be in their golden years, and so
Right,
then
yeah.
they're, so I think, I don't know, I empathize with you 100%, but
Vito?
If we feel like we have a good district, I don't understand why anybody would be opposed to expanding our district. Who cares what, all the details are irrelevant in my mind. Do we want more people here? Or do we want less people here? If people want to be here and we think we got something to offer those people, why not offer it? Why not try, do whatever we can to make it happen? Whether or not it goes through is not easy, or at a high bar there, but
Yeah.
I've yet to hear anything that would make me think, why wouldn't we? Or that's a bad idea.
Gail?
I'm kind of divided on it. I feel for you as a family, but I also look at it as school districts have boundaries for a reason. And how will Palmyra Eagle have an opportunity to become more of what they can be if people are in and out of it? And when one of the main things I looked for with my children, it was #1 on our list, was the schools. So in looking for a home, I didn't consider a home that wasn't in the district. And I was a teacher in a smaller district, and I saw this happen. And yeah, I feel for you as a family, but as a community, one community versus another, and communities trying to establish themselves and grow stronger with a better school base. Yeah, I'm very divided on which way to go for you personally, and then it sets a precedent because you do it, and there will be other people maybe on other boundary lines that will want to do the same thing. So I have mixed feelings.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. Before we moved, we didn't have any kids, so this is kind of the blessings, all that good stuff thing. We are on a boundary line, so that's, you know, when we initially purchased our house, you know, we had a realtor who was on the board here that indicated this could be an option, and there are many kids from like the heart of Palmyra Eagle who do open enroll into Mukwonago. So this isn't something where we set up like, oh, we'll get this here, and then, you know, just so you know where we're coming from. We're not trying to, this is the last thing we want to do is ruffle any feathers or try to go against anything. It's just kind of where we found ourselves now. I most definitely understand it's an option to move to Mukwonago. It's just hard to swallow that we could walk, you know, 50 paces and be over there, and then we'd have to give up our home and try to find that too. And that's, we've looked at that, and it's hard too for the kids too at this point to kind of have to move. And we've kind of go just based on information that we received. So this is something, not something where we tried to lay down here and then juxtapose this system at all. From what we understood when we purchased the property, we would have an option to open enroll. And unfortunately, with our second child, we weren't. So that's just where we're coming from.
No, I understand that. I do feel for you, but I have mixed feelings about it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Oh, Erica?
Just more of a comment to Gail, to your, what was your first name? I'm sorry?
Oh, Caitlin?
Caitlin, to their comment. We have a large population in MASD from Palmyra Eagle that open enroll. It's a sizable amount, which unfortunately has caused some community friction, because this is not the first, this is probably maybe the 5th or 6th detachment I've seen in my time. One was a large scale, one was a medium scale, and we've had a couple individuals as well. So this is unfortunately old blood, like that bruise between these communities, but it is understandable. They blame us for being good at what we do, so people leave, and it makes it hard for them, like you said, to become what they could become. I don't think that's our fault. I'm not going to take the blame for a well-run district that has worked really hard. I'm not saying that they haven't. I'm just saying that we have been successful in what we have done. I give you all the credit in the world as parents, willing to do and fight for anything that you can for the sake of your children. Am I torn? Maybe a little, only because I'd hate to see you go through something that's just gonna fail because I haven't seen any work. At this point, I'll be honest, I'm willing to kind of let the state decide, because again, I'm torn, but we have open enrollment for a reason. It's benefiting their son, it is benefiting us. We don't have open enrollment for a special education program, which is what they need, and we do it well. So that's where I'm torn, is if we set a precedent for special education, our encouragement would be, please move into the district. But this ultimately isn't in our hands if we let it leave this room as a yes. The state decides in the end. So there's a part of me that's willing to let the state give it a go. But that's it. The board has to decide if they want to let the state figure that out, and if we want to set that precedent. I will tell you, I have not seen a detachment quite so clean, though, on our boundary lines. Most that come to us are like a hop, skip, and a jump across a bunch of houses. So this one is definitely the most neat and tidy that I've seen.
Any other comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to deny the territory detachment. Seconds? No?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any? It's just listed as territory detachment. So I just want to just make it clear, make a motion to deny your request. We have a motion and a second. Any more comments?
I would actually like to hear the reasoning behind your motion and your second.
That's not really proper to do that to board members, to ask them, to call them out and explain themselves. It is really not.
It's not proper to.
I apologize. I thought we were a public entity that answers.
We
for the
are,
public,
but that's
and
just
we
not proper
discussed-
decorum. To call out board members and tell them to explain themselves. If a board member wants to explain themselves during comments, they can. But it's not proper for a board member to call out another board member and tell them to explain themselves.
I think that the public deserves to have that right.
I would agree.
Okay, I'm just telling you, it's not proper decorum.
In your opinion.
And it's not,
Joe?
and it's, no,
Joe,
Robert's rules.
why don't you chime in?
So procedurally, a question can always be asked of another board member, whether they choose to answer or weigh in on that, or whether it's germane to the decision. It's two separate things. There was a motion made, a second, there was discussion had. So we would be moving into the discussion on the merits of, do we approve the attachment or do we deny the attachment? The motion is for the denial, so the comments should be directed towards the denial if that's the move, or approving the attachment, which would then allow for the family to join the district or to make the appeal to the state. So
I would like to clarify, it's an honest question, because like Vito said, like, I'm a little conflicted. Gail has said she's conflicted. Like Vito said, like, why not? I am looking for a good why not, because I'm not 100% decided. I would like to know the thought process of this board before making an official vote, but I haven't heard a lot to support the denial yet. That's why I asked, not out of.
I'll say it again, though. You said it yourself, Erica, that we don't have the ability to take all the special needs kids in open enrollment. We don't. Am I correct in that assumption? Isn't that correct?
This doesn't affect open enrollment, though. This would make them in our district, which.
But we're talking about a specific
So for clarification.
Yeah.
If the attachment is approved, the family would be treated as residents, and we would get all the funding associated with a resident student in this case. For open enrollment, there are limits that are put on the funding transfer. So if a student comes to us under open enrollment, there's a limit by which the money we get. We have greater claimability if the student is a resident student. And I'm only offering that as clarification.
Okay. And I still feel that we're gonna have a lot more of these in the future because we have a good district.
I appreciate that.
And I said I raised my kids here. We love people that love Mukwonago. I don't know what else more I can say.
You don't have to. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor to deny the request, say aye.
I would like a roll call vote, please.
Okay.
Okay. Crosby?
Aye.
Erica?
Nay.
Jake?
Nay.
Gail?
Aye.
Crosby?
She already went.
I already
Oh, I'm sorry. Dale?
Yay.
Vito?
Nay.
Carolyn?
Nay.
Craig?
Aye.
Cherry? Nay.
So that would be 5-4 on the roll call to deny, 5-4 against the denial.
Correct.
So then the request then would, or a motion would have to be made then for approving the attachment.
Correct.
I make said motion.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any more comments? All right, all those in favor for the approval of the attachment?
Shall I roll call again?
Yes.
Crosby?
Nay.
Erica?
Aye.
Jake?
Aye.
Gail?
Nay.
Dale?
Nay.
Vito?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
Craig?
Nay.
Cherry? Aye.
All right, motion carries. Moving on to policy
Yeah,
2260.
Dale, may I just for clarity, just so everybody knows, the community members, that the vote now opens up the door for the family to appeal to the DPI.
Correct.
So there is no immediate attachment to the school district.
All right, moving on to policy 2260.01, section 504/ADA, prohibition against discrimination based on disability.
Yeah, so about 3 months ago, we brought forward a stack of policies that changed Christine and Stephen to Rachel and Ben. This policy, due to my oversight, missed that review and approval. So I'm requesting tonight that we approve it. The only change to the policy is the name change. This would require the waiving of our 2 reading requirement, so.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve section 504 ADA prohibition against discrimination based on disability policy.
And say, and waive the second reading.
And waive the second reading.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
I just have a quick question. I do a lot of corporate policy, and this is probably maybe a dumb question, but we leave it to the title and not the name of the person so that we don't have to continue to do this every time we have a personnel change. Is that an option going forward, or does it work that way in education?
The Office of Civil Rights dictates that we have the people listed by name and title.
Got it.
Any more questions or discussion? All's in favor, say yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. I was thinking
Aye,
about verse
question mark?
saying yay in my ear. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Move on to increase wages for student workers.
So earlier this month, I presented information around our student employee group and the reasons why we are looking specifically at the student employee group around our PAC and why we are looking to increase their compensation from $7.50 to $13.50 per hour. And so I'm looking for a motion to approve that increase for that employee group.
I'll make a motion that we increase the wage from $7.50 to $13.50 an hour for the PAC employees.
Second.
Student group.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Moving on to extended field trip. for the high school to Europe.
So earlier this month, we reviewed an extended trip proposal for the three SAVE students and 2 teachers to go to Charlotte, North Carolina for the National Save Promise Club. So I'm bringing it forth to the board for a vote for that trip.
I think we're on the Europe right now.
I make a motion to approve.
Oh, sorry, I skipped that.
That's okay.
I'm motioning for the save one, so I just thought we could go back to the other one.
Do you want me to go ahead to the Europe one?
We can just,
Are you doing both? Or just one?
let's stick with the high school first. Let's keep in order.
So we're on number 6, is that correct?
We're on number
Sure.
5. We're
on
sticking
5,
with the high
Europe,
school.
the Europe trip.
Okay, sorry, that's my fault.
That's okay.
Okay, so earlier this month, we reviewed an extended trip proposal for students and staff to go to London, England, Paris, France, and Amsterdam, Netherlands, the summer of 2025. The board did have some questions that I said that I would bring back to them when we were looking at a vote. So a couple of things. First of all, I was asked about the lessons, what the curriculum tie-in is to the trip. So in the attached paperwork this time, the group had gone through, all of our students are required sophomore year to take world history, and that is going to be the major curriculum tie-in for that. In almost every unit that we teach for world history, there's going to be a tie-in to what is learned and lessons that they're going to be going over as they do this trip. That was one of the things I was asked. The trip, I was asked about the capping on the trip. That was not very clear. Carlos did actually clean up some of the paperwork in there, took off the tape comment after hearing the discussion, and did verify that the trip will be capped, first come, first serve, up to 50 students, and then chaperones for that. Also ask a question about the standard, the cancellation policy. So that was included in the paperwork. It's a waterfall cancellation policy. So if they cancel within 30 days of the trip, there's a certain price. If they cancel within, well, let me see, 150 days, there's a $399 non-refundable fee that's taken off. If it's within 150 to 110 days from the trip, a $599 non-refundable fee, and it kind of goes from there. I was also asked then about travel protection, which was included in the paperwork that I put in there, and families do have the choice of doing two cancellation policies that would basically ensure that they get at least 75% of their money back, depending upon which policy they went with. Are there other questions?
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure that he also removed the request for potential funding from the district.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I will make a motion to approve.
Carolyn?
I just had a quick comment,
Oh.
or a question. Is there instances where a student may not be eligible for behavioral or whatever issues they may have that are outstanding issues?
Yeah, so we have internal documents to guide students that are eligible to attend the trip. So if a student had an infraction, they would not be allowed to sign up for the trip.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Moving on to the extended field trip for the middle school.
Okay. Nope, this is
Or no,
high school also.
school.
Yep,
for
the high
care.
school Save Promise Club.
Save, yep.
So again, this is for 3 students and 2 teachers to go to Charlotte, North Carolina.
I make a motion to approve the field trip.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to unfinished business, the superintendent's report.
All right, so 2 recognitions tonight. First, we'd like to thank Shore West Realty in Mukwonago for their generous donation of $1,157 from the proceeds of the Shore West Annual Chili Lunch. All of the proceeds were donated to the MASD Lunch Account Angel Fund, which will benefit over 70 MASD students in need. If you ever get a chance, you see that advertised or you're driving by, I would highly encourage you. They had about 10 different types of chili there. It would be very difficult to pick a winner, although somebody did make a smoked chili which I must say was the best chili I've ever had. Unfortunately, I got there towards the end and I didn't get as much as I would have liked. It was absolutely delicious. The other donation comes from Fork in the Road for the generously donating $2,716.22 from the proceeds of the Father's Day Parade to the Summer Buddies program. Again, great generosity out of Fork in the Road. We really appreciate the support of both organizations, and we will send a written thank you to both. The last thing that I'd like to make mention to, last week, Friday, I think it was, we were given notice that we were awarded a $395,000 grant from the DPI. This is from the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, Stronger Connections Grant. So I'd like to thank Christine and her team. She's over there smiling right now. When we get awarded these grants, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into them. To receive a $395,000 grant is going to have a multi-year impact on our system. So thank you, Christine, and your team.
I have to say I was pretty excited on Friday.
This will go a long way to help support our freshmen who are struggling learners, and then our younger students in and around their behavior during the recess hour. So great, great opportunity for us. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I didn't have anything, but I do want to comment on board members questioning other board members. It is not proper. Board members are allowed to.
Superintendent just told you that it was.
Board members are allowed to. You don't have the floor, so please respect my time.
You don't get to use the time to badger other.
No, I'm
I'm
explaining.
just going to call point of order in this discussion. If we could allow for a continued comment, and then if we're going to have a comment, please allow for somebody then to answer a comment or provide additional comment afterwards.
Just through all the training of Robert's rules, every board member has a right to sit here and vote, and they don't have to explain themselves, and it's not proper for board members to call out other board members and have them explain themselves for their vote. That's the end of my comments.
Do I get to comment now?
Sure.
Well, I would disagree with you, and I don't think it's proper for you to dictate rules that don't exist.
In Robert's rules, they do exist.
Show me.
You have the book.
Show me.
I think if it had been done in a less threatening way, threatening maybe isn't the right word.
Definitely not the right word.
Catty-esque, not catty.
Definitely not the word either.
It wasn't done in the right way. Had you said, hey, no one said I strongly oppose yet, I would love to hear your reason why. Tone is everything. And I feel like everybody needs to start checking it at the door.
Including the president?
It's everybody.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to comment due to I apparently stirred this pot. So I agree, tone is everything. But I will also add to this discussion is feedback that when I'm getting from many people, as well as I hold true as well, is that many of us sit at this seat that the public appointed us and elected us to silently. Not participating in discussion, not sharing what we think. So how does our community know where we stand?
By your votes.
Possibly. Some of these are more important discussions than that, too, in my opinion. I think that we hold ourselves accountable to the public, and I think it is fair to them as well as everyone at the table to have a robust discussion. And I guess I say that just from the experience of my mind has been changed by board members in discussion at this table. And it has felt like that has been lacking lately. That discussion is not robust, or it isn't had as all, and we sit silently. Oftentimes I feel like Cherry and I are having a discussion with each other, and it just doesn't feel fair. I don't feel like I'm getting the benefit of your opinions, because if you don't share, I don't know, and I might be missing something. I want to know if I'm missing something, so I do apologize if my tone came off. It's definitely out of frustration of, what am I missing? Please someone tell me. So I guess out of my own frustration, honestly, of seeing, hearing, experiencing a lot of silence over the last 3 months, I feel like it's getting to a point where I needed to say something like, could we please discuss these issues and not just silently vote? I don't think that benefits any of us, quite honestly. So I apologize if it came across aggressive. My belief still stands that we need to talk about it. I guess I don't find it a problem if somebody were to ask me, like, could you please clarify your stance, because I'm here for the discussion. But if you didn't like it, I apologize publicly. I'm sorry. I guess I don't find it out of order because it's something I would never be offended by. So formal apologies to everyone, but I do think that we offer and owe our public a robust discussion. If that's not appropriate, then it's not appropriate.
Discussion is good, but calling out board members and telling them to explain themselves is not.
So basically, I think the reason we are as quiet as we are is because we get chastised when we do have a discussion or even ask a question, apparently, because that's inappropriate to ask somebody to clarify themselves or say what they feel. So now you have a bunch of people here that don't feel comfortable doing that. Do you think that's how that should go?
I think it should go, if you need information, you do your homework, you do all your work before you get here. If you have questions, Joe's available, our staff's available. And you ask them questions, you come prepared to a meeting. And then if you need more information, they are there to ask questions or to answer questions. Cherry?
My only comment is when we are elected as board members, when we are away from this table, we are not a board member. We are only, I mean, you all got that in our training, that until we come as a group and are sitting in the same room and the meeting is convened, at that point, we are a board. So at that point, even if you've done your homework, I believe it is okay and kind of our responsibility to let the people who are watching us understand why we make the decisions we make. So maybe at that point it would be good to share the things that we learned in our research. So it's like, well, in researching detachments, I found that, just because Erica said it, she said that usually even when it goes to the state, it isn't pass. And Gail said, I'm torn because in my other district, and I won't say which one, but they where you were struggled also, and what Gail said. So we know as a board, all of us in this room got Gail's experience that she had and Erica's experience that she had to add to our information so that we could make an educated decision. Had they not said it, I wouldn't even have thought about your other district or whatever. So it's just that I think we need to keep in consideration that even though maybe we know what we're thinking, we are responsible to the people who are watching us right now. And they want to know, what does Cherry think about that? And why does she think it? So some of the times, the reasons I talk, I know my answer. I could say nothing, but I say it so that the community is aware of other things. So I think that's the whole general premise that we're discussing here. We should, as a board, when we are a board, not when we're individuals, have the discussion. We do have, I believe, somewhat, not very much, but somewhat, we have a little more discussions at our committee of the whole. You know, I mean, there's a little more, it's a little more informational grabbing or whatever, but this is the official once a month board meeting, and so I think some of those things should be shared. It would just be, and I did not feel, and maybe it's just who I am and because I've sat here long enough, but when Erica asked you, I'm sorry, Carol, I didn't hear it as hostile. It was like, Dale, why do you think that? I didn't hear it as, well, you got police, and you know what I'm saying? That is not what I heard. So I didn't think it came across that way, and I think that Vito's right too, that you get to a place where if you don't feel comfortable that when you say something you're not going to be called, because I too would love to see where in the Roberts rules, just because I'm curious to know if where it says you cannot question another board member. I just am curious, and I don't know where that copy of Robert Rules is. I'd gladly read through it, but anyways, that's all. Sorry.
I would like to get, just for the record, you don't believe it's appropriate for anybody to ask you to explain why you're...
A board member should never call another board member.
No,
According to
that's not
Robert's
the
rules.
question.
That's what my job is to abide by the rules and keep the meeting flowing.
So you don't...
But if you want to have this, I think we should have this conversation
I think the
off
public
the record.
deserves to know where you stand on explaining yourself and why you do things. Like somebody asked you to explain why you were going to vote, and you got mad at them for it.
I didn't get mad.
it's
I was
worth
just
the public
pointing out
knowing.
it.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Sorry.
Wow.
I just,
That's let's not find out why somebody's acting a certain way, right?
All in favor, say aye.